So I thought I'd do a different type of video today. I'm hanging out at the folks' house. My housemates still have COVID, so... Oh, he's peeing. My housemates still have COVID, so I am hanging out at the folks' house, having a little vacation here. It's a little bit farther of a drive for me to work, to the shop in the mornings, but that's okay. They're almost done with their little quarantine. I think it's been like 7 days, so I think I'll go back there pretty soon. Did you lose the ball, buddy? Where'd it go? Where'd the ball go? Where did I throw it? Where is it? So anyways, I'm out here throwing the ball with the pup and thinking about my next video, what it should be about. I don't really have very many new knives. The last knife I had come in was the Kubi Momentum, which is a fantastic knife, and watch that review if you're interested. But I don't have anything coming in the mail, no new knives right now. A little bit tight on money. Just the fuel prices have been killing me, and a couple other obligations that I have. So I got my eye on a couple knives, so I think I'm gonna probably get those in the mail hopefully soon. One of the reasons I started a knife review channel was because I hope to eventually be sent knives from either manufacturers or other YouTubers or you guys, viewers, for review and for me to check out. So hopefully that happens one day. I'm at 50 subscribers now. My small goal right now is to get to 100, which I think is doable. And yeah, I hope to get to a point where people can trust me enough and respect my opinion enough, my reviewing skills enough to send me knives for me to check out. And that's really the reason I started the channel. I don't care too much about monetization, although that would be nice sometime in the future, but I really just love knives, and I can't afford to buy all the knives that I want. So yeah, if you're watching and you want to send me some knife for me to check out, I would absolutely love that. I'm a trustworthy guy. I'm not gonna steal them. I'll send them right back when I'm done. And Pokey, come over here. He's getting close to the poison oak. Don't go over there, bud. Come on. He sleeps with me in the bed, so I don't want him to get poison oak on his little paws. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? So anyways, I'm gonna go inside now and eat some dinner and then get ready to do a video. I might do one on different locking mechanisms. I have a pretty good amount of examples of different locking mechanisms. Maybe we could talk about that. I also have a couple knives in the collection I haven't reviewed yet, so we might do one of those. But yep, I'll be back in just a split second for you, but a couple minutes for me. I'll be back. All right, what's happening, dudes? I figured today we would just do kind of a chit-chatty kind of style video. We can take a look at some different locking mechanisms. We can talk about whatever else comes to mind. Just kind of shoot the breeze, if you will. This is a pretty cool little slip joint I found at a swap meet. I'm not sure how old it is, but the manufacturer is Frost Cutlery. You can see there on the blade. Pretty cool little thing. It's got I think that's a fireman's crest on there, I believe. Does it say? What does it say on there? It says FD, so I'm assuming that's fire department. I'm guessing this was a gift to someone in the fire department for some occasion. So that's pretty cool. It's another slip joint looking knife, but it is actually a lockback. Kind of interesting. I had never seen one like this before. Typically knives that look like this in the, you know, kind of traditional style are slip joints. They're not lockbacks. So I thought I'd pick it up. It's a Boker, and I like the kind of rectangular nail nick there. Pretty cool little thing. Frame locks. I don't own a whole lot of frame locks for no particular reason. I wish I owned more. I really do like frame locks if it's on the right knife. You know, some knives I feel are definitely better suited to liner locks or some other kind of locking mechanism. The only real issue with frame locks is you can't put pressure on the lock bar with your fingers as you're gripping it to open it. See, if I'm gripping it here, you know, to brace myself to pull on the flipper tab, that's putting pressure on the lock bar and the detent ball, and it'll be really stiff and hard to open. Sometimes impossible to open. So you just have to be, you know, aware of the placement of your fingers before you go ahead and flip it open. This is the Crkt Pylar large that I've done some modifications to. I sanded off the billboarding, the logo on the blade, and this scale side was originally just a bead blasted finish like this, but I sanded it down, got it nice and smooth, and then added some gun blue to it, and it actually added it made a pretty cool effect. I wasn't expecting it to be kind of blotchy like that, but I really like it. It's got a cool look to it. I don't use this knife a whole lot, but man, it is very comfortable to hold, and I put a nice mirror edge on it, or close to a mirror edge. One thing that bothers me about this knife is the detent is pretty late, so I'm always kind of fumbling with it. You know, I can't just let it hit my thumb here and then let it fall the rest of the way, because it hits that detent. It detents right there. So I have to get past that before I can close it all the way. So that's a minor annoyance. Not the end of the world, but you know, I don't see why they wouldn't just put it earlier. I'm not sure. If you know, tell me. I'm not sure what the advantage is, if any, to having it later. To me, it seems like you could just put it, you know, like right there, instead of down here. But you know, who knows? The Demco 8020.5, the infamous shark lock. One of the most fidgety and just acoustically great locks. It just sounds cool. It's all clickety clackety. One of the easiest locks, in my opinion, to actuate and to disengage. It's just almost second nature. Well, actually, I take that back, because I handed this knife to my dad yesterday, and he couldn't quite figure it out. He was pushing straight down, and it wasn't quite opening for him. The motion is kind of down and a little bit out. But once you know that, I mean, it's very, very easy. One of my favorite locks. You know, it's funny. I was taking a look at the Demco website, or maybe it was the Instagram. I can't remember. But they had on there this massive, massive knife folder. I don't think it was an AD20 derivative. It was kind of its own style, but it was like, I don't know. It looked like it was 10, or it was huge. It looked like it was around 10 inches long, or in total open, and it still had the shark lock on it, and it was pretty crazy. So that just goes to show you that this is a very strong lock, and it can handle even an extremely large knife, almost a machete-looking knife. You know, if it's able to securely lock out that knife, then I'm pretty sure it'll lock out this little guy. Button locks. This is the Civivi Cogent, and it's a button lock. Probably the easiest type of lock to use, I think. I know I just said that about this one too, but I take that back. I think this is really the easiest locking mechanism. I mean, it's really just as simple as pushing a button. You know, you really can't get any more simple than that. This knife's really fun to just mess around with. The ProTech Malibu was, I believe, the beginning of the button lock craze, and for a while that was the only, or I think the only button lock on the market, or at least the cheapest one. And it wasn't even very cheap at all. I think they go for, they go for hundreds of dollars. So for a long time, I wasn't able to get a button lock knife because I couldn't afford the Malibu. But then Civivi came out with this, the Cogent, and it was the first of quite a few button locks that they've come out with, which makes me very happy because now I can finally experience a button lock without, going broke. So I really appreciate that. They have, Civivi has quite a few button locks, like I said, now for, I think they're all under $100. I believe they might have a couple more premium versions of some of them, but go check them out. They've got some really cool ones. I think there are a couple designs they have now that I even like better than this one, so I might pick up one of those sometime. Particularly the Conspirator is one that I really like the look of. This one I've added an aftermarket thumb stud on. These are made by Buck, I believe, and they're advertised as being on a Buck 110, which would allow you to slow roll it out. I don't think you're going to be flicking open a 110, but I saw them on BladeHQ.com, and I picked up a couple just because I was very curious to see how some of my knives would be with thumb studs on them. So it's kind of big and it's kind of a little bit obtrusive, especially on your thumb area where you'd want to put your thumb. So not ideal, but it is kind of cool just to pick one up and throw it on a couple of your knives just to see how it would be as a thumb stud opener. The Conspirator, which is one of the other Civivi button locks, I believe does have thumb studs built in, so that's great. I think this knife would have been better with thumb studs, but the flipper tab on this knife really is quite amazing. I mean, it just fires out so fast. That detent is really, really tuned very well. And I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but this knife makes a cool little dinging noise when it opens. It kind of like ding. It's kind of faint, and if you oil the knife, it kind of goes away, but it comes back as the oil kind of spreads itself around. So I always like that. I always like to open a knife and hear a little ding ding, not two dings, one ding. I don't know, just kind of cool. Let's see what else. Let's talk about the old Let's talk about the old axis lock. Benchmade had a patent on this type of lock until it ran out recently, and now a lot of other manufacturers are also using this same locking mechanism. It's basically a bar, a sliding bar inside the knife that slides up when you open the knife into an area of the tang from which it cannot escape unless you pull it back down and disengage it. It's a pretty strong lock as far as I know. Never had one fail on me. The only downside to axis locks is they get their springiness from two springs, one on either side, and that spring is prone to break. And I'm not really sure why. It seems like Benchmade would be able to make them not break. You'd think they would make them out of different material, better steel, something to make them not break, but they do occasionally. I've only ever had to replace one set of them, which was on this knife, and I've had this knife for a few years, so it's not like you're going to be doing it every month, but just be aware that it may eventually happen to you. And that is a major downside to this locking mechanism, because if this was your only knife and you were in a survival situation and your spring broke, the knife is almost useless at that point because it does not lock open at all. So, you know, you might still be able to use it kind of, but not in the way it was intended to. So that's a big downside to the axis lock. And aside from that, I really like it. It's just very easy to use. It's a great locking mechanism, aside from that. Another downside is you don't get a very strong kind of a detent feel when you're flicking an axis lock open, particularly on my Mini Adamas. It's just the blade doesn't really fly open. You have to kind of follow through with your thumb to get it open. It's just not ideal as far as that goes. But if that doesn't bother you, then, you know, whatever. It bothers me a little bit with this knife. You know, I wish I could break that detent and just have this thing fly out, but that's just not the case. Aside from that, I really love this knife. And it seems like on the bug out, it's a bit better, quite a bit better actually. It might just be because this blade is really heavy. That might have something to do with it. But these are the only two Benchmades I own, so I'm not, you know, I only have these to compare really. Then a similar locking mechanism, at least it looks similar on the outside, is the Spyderco's ball cage lock. So on the outside it looks very similar. It's got two tabs that you pull down to close the knife. But actually what's happening on the inside is there is a ball bearing that is kind of right in between these two tabs. And when you open the blade, a spring on the back of it pushes it up inside the tang, and that's what locks the knife. Extremely, extremely secure locking mechanism. Very secure. I mean, the lockout on this knife is rock solid, and I mean that. No blade play anywhere in the knife. It also has a spring, but it's not the type of spring that can break like this one. It's an actual like coil spring. So I've never heard of one of these breaking ever, so that's great. Not quite fall shut action like an axis lock or, you know, maybe another lock. It does kind of go shut, but the blade isn't like totally free swinging like on this knife, the Adamas. I mean, that is completely a free swinging blade. But that doesn't bother me, you know. I'd rather have rock solid lockup than, you know, a fall shut knife. Having good lockout is more important than that. And then we have the good old compression lock from Spyderco. The compression lock is basically a liner lock, but on the back of the knife. We have that liner that's getting pushed aside to close the knife. When you're opening the knife, it clicks into place right below the tang and keeps it locked up. I really like the compression lock. It's a very secure locking mechanism, and just fun to mess around with. You know, you can open and close the knife one-handed. It's great. It's really great. Fun to mess around with, as most of these locks are. I just got this this new clip on here. This is an Mxg Dpa Clip. I had this green one on it before. I switched it on to the Manix, but I really like that kind of monochromatic look with that brass accent there. And this is just a 3D printed kind of snap-in backspacer. You don't need to take apart the knife. It just snaps in. I think it looks kind of cool. I'm not totally sure if I'll leave it on or not. Just kind of trying it out. Let me know what you guys think. I think it looks alright. It does add a little bit of grippiness when you're grabbing the knife. You know, it kind of hits back here on your palm, gives you a little bit extra security on the knife. Yeah, it's I'm still deciding on the looks of it, so we'll see. And then liner locks. This is the Kui Momentum, and this is the liner lock. Basically the compression lock, but it's on the front of the knife. Push it over, close the knife. It's that simple, folks. If you haven't seen my review on this knife, check it out. This knife is really good. Look at this action. Fall shut, baby. Fall shut, baby. On a $38 knife. At least that's what I paid. The most I've seen them for is $50. But check out God, I keep doing that. Check out White Mountain Knives. Because that's where I got it for 38 bucks. Really recommend this knife. What else? Did we talk about all these? Yeah, I think we did. Picked up this guy the other day. This is a Victorinox Tinker. Kind of cool. It was cheap. I found it at the local Army Surplus store, which is my local knife shop, really. They carry Benchmade, ZT, CRJB, Kershaw, Leatherman, a couple other random ones. So that's really the only local spot where I can go and check out knives in person. So I'm glad I have that, though. Some places you don't even have any type of shop to check out knives, and you're definitely not going to Big Five because at least the Big Fives in my area, their knife selection sucks. They have Uzi brand knives there and Humvee brand knives. Have you ever heard of a Humvee brand knife? Well, you're not missing much, let me tell you. So this is kind of a cool knife. It's got the very nice Phillips head. It's got an awl, a can opener / what is that? I guess small flathead. Bottle opener, big flathead, primary blade, and secondary smaller blade. And then the toothpick and tweezers, of course. So, thought I'd pick it up. I only have the very small guy. I forget what it's called. It's about this big, tiny. So I wanted a full size. I really want to. I've seen these pictures lately of Swiss Army knives, but with cool scales on them, like brass, copper. I've seen some titanium ones. I would love to get some brass or copper scales for this guy. If you guys know where to get them, I did a little research and I wasn't really able to find a good spot to buy them. So if you guys know anything about that, please let me know. I'm not even sure how these scales come off. There's no pins or anything. They must just snap on somehow. But I'm curious to know how the replacement ones would go on. You might have to put some epoxy on them or something, maybe. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, I think this thing would look badass with some copper or brass on it. Alrighty, I think that's going to do it, folks. Thanks for watching. And we're at 51 subscribers, so we're getting there. We're getting to 100. We're going to do it. It's going to be great. We're going to do a giveaway when we get there. And so stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching. Adios, peeps.